Good morning, everyone. We're entering a new phase this morning. We've been talking about the Noble Eightfold Path, which is the Buddha's instruction on how to come to the end of suffering. And what we've been focusing on the last while is the sort of foundational part, which is morality, kindness, harmlessness. And this is so important for our practice because the way the path works is that we need to sort of calm ourselves down, come to peace, come to stillness, because in stillness, in peace, we can see reality clearly. And then when we can really see reality clearly, that's when we gain the insights that lead to full awakening or liberation from suffering. And so when we lead a kind, moral, harmless life, then there's no remorse when we sit down to meditate, because we can sit there, and so that gives us our first degree of peacefulness, our first degree of stillness. And now in the section that we're entering now of the Noble Eightfold Path, we're entering the meditation section, and then our meditation practice gains us even more stillness, more peace. So that's what we're embarking on today. Now there's three components to this phase: right effort, right mindfulness, and right stillness. And right stillness is also known as samadhi or jhana. There is a simile for how these three components work together. This was not a simile of the Buddha's. It was a follower of the Buddha who was involved in writing the commentary, so sometime after the time of the Buddha that this was constructed. Anyway, the simile goes like this. There's three boys who go to the park. And in the park, they see this beautiful flowering tree, and they want to gather some of the flowers to take home, but it's too tall, they can't reach. And so one of the boys bends over and invites the tallest boy to stand on his back so he can reach the flowers. But when he stands on the back, he's kind of wobbly, so the third boy comes close so he can put his hand on that boy's shoulder, and then he's stable and he can reach up and gather the flowers. So the bent over boy, he's representing the support that's given by right effort for our mind to come to unity, to come to peacefulness, to come to stillness. The shoulder support, the boy who offers his shoulder for support, that's representing the stabilizing awareness of mindfulness, awareness. And the tall boy is representing unification of the mind. That's found in our right stillness, our samadhi or jhana. Okay, now, effort, like mindfulness, can be used in wrong ways. You can make effort and mindfully rob a bank, and that's not right mindfulness or right effort. So when we say that right, we put the word right in front of it because we want this effort to be the effort that's leading us to liberation from suffering, to full awakening. And our effort is guided by the first two components of the Noble Eightfold Path, which is right view and right thought. So right view, that's the Four Noble Truths, that there's suffering, there's a cause for suffering, which is desire to get things or desire to push away things we don't like. The good news that can be cessation of suffering, and then the fourth noble truth is the Noble Eightfold Path, which is the path that leads us to the end of suffering. Also involved in right view is the concept of cause and effect. There's sort of no belief in magic in this program. It's like everything is due to past causes and conditions. And sort of one aspect of cause and effect is the idea of karma. And karma is summarized by do good, get good, do bad, get bad. And it also involves a belief in rebirth. If there wasn't rebirth, then people say, well, this life is it. I'll lead a hedonistic life, just get pleasure for myself, not worry about what happens to other people, and then when I'm dead, I'm dead. But the Buddhist path is saying you're not going to get off that easy. You're going to get reborn, and it's going to come back to bite you. So the believing in rebirth really helps us to sort of be motivated to lead a kind and moral life. So right view is guiding our efforts, and also right thought, right motivation, right intention. Those are all the same words for the different words to explain the second component of the Noble Eightfold Path. And that's renunciation, the motivation of renunciation to live simply. The motivation of kindness, just a feeling of wishing well for all beings. And then the third one is harmlessness. And it's harmlessness and kindness towards ourselves as well as others. So these are what guides, these two things are guiding our efforts. Now, effort's important because the Buddha just points the way to the end of suffering. He doesn't magically get us there. He just points the way. And we have to make the effort. So we all start with sort of defiled, deluded, suffering minds. And we want to get to the liberated mind free of suffering. And so in between those two is this effort that we apply. Now there's 4 parts to right effort. The first is to not allow the hindrances, the things that prevent us from getting to liberation. So the first effort is to not allow these hindrances to arise. But if they do arise, that's our second effort, to let them go. Our third effort is to put in the causes for the arising of wholesome factors. And specifically, the Buddha is referring to the 7 factors of awakening. And then the fourth effort is, once these factors of awakening have arisen, the effort is to maintain them and allow them to increase. Now, in my own practice, I have found that all I need to do is use mindfulness of breath to do all 4 of the efforts. So that makes it nice and simple. If we're just mindful of our breath. So if we're allowing the awareness of breath to sort of fill us, and we're there with it, we have this spaciousness of this breath filling our awareness, the breath coming in and the breath going out. And if we're fully there, there's no room for the hindrances to come in. So that's how mindfulness of breath helps us with the first effort. But then, of course, the hindrances always manage to sneak in. And so we can just notice, oh, this has arisen, and then come back to our breath. So the breath can be used for the second effort. And then I'm just going to stay with the hindrances for the moment, and then I'll talk about the third and fourth effort in a moment. So if just being with our breath is not enough, despite attempting to be fully continuously with our breath, the hindrances come in, then one of the first things you can do is because the hindrances are usually stimulated by sensory awareness. Then if we use sense restraint, then that can help us to not allow the hindrances to arise. And by sense restraint, we don't mean you walk around with your eyes closed and earplugs in or whatever. You're still, fully aware of the world, but you're just staying with sort of more the bare awareness. Like if you're in a shopping mall and you're walking down, and of course you're seeing things, and you just want to stay with just general seeing. You don't want to have your eyes go and, you see this sweater in a store, and then you start looking at the details. Look at the beautiful design of this sweater. I want that sweater. So you're allowing yourself to go and sort of look at details. So if we can just stay with just seeing, if you notice that sweater in the store, seeing, and then just back to your breath or back to feeling your feet walking on the mall. Or the same thing with hearing and all the other senses. Like if there's music, they're playing music in the mall, just hearing, not, I really like that song. I wonder, who did it? I wonder how I can get a hold of that. I'd like to have that in my collection. Or, I can't stand that. Who picked that music? This is horrible. So that's going for the details. So when you go for the details, then you're going to have a hindrance attack. So if you can just stay with hearing, I'm hearing something, and then just coming back to your breath or coming back to your footfall on the floor. And in Buddhism, we have 6 senses. So the brain is considered a sensory organ, and thinking is considering the sensation. So this is a huge cause of hindrances to come up, is if we let our thoughts start proliferating. So again, if we're just going along and then a thought comes to our mind, we can just go, thinking, and come back to our breath, and not let ourselves get caught up in the details of what that thought is. And you can just, help yourself by saying, it's not my thought. Like, you didn't ask it to come up. If you owned it, if you owned that thought, you would have said, I want you to happen, or I don't want you to happen. But you don't own it. Here you are trying to be with your breath, and blip, up comes a thought. So it's not yours. So don't take it personally. Don't be upset that this thought has arisen, because you didn't ask for it. It's just there from past causes and conditions. So just, hello there, thought. Back to your breath. So using this type of sense restraint can help us to prevent hindrances from arising. But as I mentioned, and as we've all experienced, they do arise. They sneak their way in there. So we have to deal with them. So the second effort now is to let them go. And one of the guidelines that we can use for letting go is the Buddha's instructions in Majjhima Nikaya number 20. So that's the middle length sayings, number 20. And there he gives 5 ways to abandon thoughts. So the first method is to substitute something wholesome. So breathing meditation is wholesome, so that's sort of a standard. As I mentioned, you can use breath meditation for any of these steps. So if a hindrance comes up, it's like, hello there, and just come back to your breath. Substitute the wholesomeness of being with your breath. But I'll give you a list of the different hindrances and specific sort of antidotes or substitutions that the Buddha has suggested. So if it's desire or greed that has arisen, he suggests contemplating impermanence. How often when you desire something and you get it, how long before you lose interest, or another desire pops up, like it'll give you some satisfaction for a short period of time, and then you're wanting something else to stimulate you. So contemplating impermanence. If inappropriate sexual lust arises, there's a very specific antidote for this. So this is if you're sort of wanting to have a relationship with somebody and it's not appropriate because either you're in a committed relationship or this other person's in a committed relationship, or they're like underage, or they don't, they're not mentally capable of assessing the situation, or you're a teacher and this is your student. Anyway, there's all kinds of reasons why these things are inappropriate. So, I mean, we have human bodies, and that sort of, just can be a natural part of being human. And so if you need to work on that, so that you don't do something foolish, then the Buddha suggests contemplating the 32 parts of the body. So usually we're attracted to people because of, external appearances. So the 32 parts is having us go inside. So instead of focusing on the external of the person, focus on their sweat glands, their sebaceous glands, their undigested food, their intestines, their liver, to try and help you cool those little sexual fantasies. Okay, the ill will. It's always said metta, like just wishing well for self and others, is the antidote for this, or the substitution for this. But that can be hard at times. So I found that doing like jogging or fast walking meditation or using the holding technique are very effective for, anger. And then after you've done that, that may settle you down enough that then you can do metta, focus on metta. Dullness and drowsiness. The recommendation is to image light, or if it's daylight, open your eyes and look at the light, or if it's nighttime and there's a candle or a light on, open your eyes, look at the light. Or else do something stimulating, go and do some fast walking meditation. And the other recommendation is death contemplation. Like, I could have a heart attack in the next 5 minutes, or I could die in my sleep or whatever. And so do I want to waste my time giving in to this dullness and drowsiness? With a little caveat, if your dullness and drowsiness is due to sleep deprivation, then go and have a nap. But if the dullness and drowsiness is due to sort of boredom or some, an escape mechanism, you're trying to sort of escape something in your life at the moment, then it might be better to investigate it and work with it. The next hindrance is restlessness and worry. And the recommendation is to use a calming meditation, like breath meditation. But if the restlessness is too strong for that, then again, something, brisk jogging or walking, fast walking meditation, or again, trying the holding technique. And the final hindrance is doubt. And this is specific doubt. It's not just doubting whether you'll pass the exam or whether your car will, start when you go to try and start it. This is doubt about the teachings of the Buddha. This is what it's referring to when they talk about doubt in Buddhism. So ask questions, come to teachers, ask questions, or, read the suttas, get more information. Okay, so that's the first method of dealing with hindrances that have arisen. If just going with your breath isn't enough, these are some specific things to try. So it's substituting something wholesome for the hindrance. If that doesn't work, then the next thing the Buddha suggests is to look at the danger. What is the danger of keeping your attention on this hindrance? And what we're trying to do is to just really feel the danger. So it's like feeling a hot coal in our hand. And then you don't have to talk to yourself and say, oh, please, my hand is burning, please let go. If you feel that hot coal, it's like, yow, you just automatically let go. So that's what we're trying to do. If we really look at, the uncomfortableness, the danger. And I remember I had many years ago a really strong experience of this. I was studying this body-centered therapy, psychotherapy, and one of sort of the personality disorders you can get in is called burdened enduring. Like you just sort of go through life just feeling totally burdened. And you just have this belief system that nothing can change, and so you endure. Anyway, when I learned about this, and we all have different aspects to our personality that get triggered by different events in our life. Anyway, so this was certainly an aspect of my personality, this burdened enduring. And when I learned about it in this, this training I was taking, and I started like being aware of it instead of just autopilot going through the burden enduring, like having some awareness of it and feeling how awful it was, I was able to stop it like pretty rapidly just because I really felt how awful it is. So that was like feeling, experiencing the danger. Okay, so let's go through the hindrances. So for greed or desire, if you're wanting something maybe that you don't really need, well, what kind of maintenance? How much time is it going to take up for you, like maintaining this thing? Or how quickly is it going to wear out or break down? Or if it's something really precious, are you going to be walking around fearful of it being stolen or whatever? So those are some of the sort of dangers. Or are you going to make it difficult to buy food for the rest of the month because you've spent all your money on this expensive item? So anyway, these are some of the dangers to bring to mind for desires. For inappropriate sexual lust, if you carried out and got into one of these relationships, well, it's just the danger, it's just the destruction of, your own relationship that you have with a committed person, or that other person's destruction of the relationship with their committed other. Because, this is an immoral act, you're going to just be full of remorse, and then that's going to totally hinder your meditation practice. Anger, when we hold on to anger, we're just stabbing ourselves with that second arrow, right? And so instead of it just being a short-lived event, somebody said something harsh to you or whatever, okay, over and gone. But if you just keep bringing it to mind and just seething in the anger, you're just prolonging, So it's like my feeling of burdened enduring. If you can really feel how painful that is, just carrying that anger with you, that can help you to drop it. Dullness and drowsiness, well, if you just keep giving in to that, you're just going to get reborn with and still have to deal with it next lifetime. Just dullness and drowsiness. You're not going to get anywhere in your spiritual practice. Restlessness and worry, again, all this worrying, it's like stabbing yourself with that second arrow again. So it's just so painful holding on to all of that. Doubt, that again is delaying our awakening, so that would be the danger of that. Okay, so that's the second. So the first method was substitute something wholesome for the hindrance. Second method is see if you can really see the danger, like feel that hot coal, so you'll just automatically drop it. The third way to stop thoughts that bring up, stimulate the hindrances is to distract yourself. Put your mind somewhere else. And obviously your mindfulness of breathing wasn't strong enough, so can you make the mindfulness of breathing more coarse? Can you start counting your breaths, or adding in a mantra, or using mala beads, moving a mala bead with each breath, or doing walking, walking or jogging meditation. That's coarser than sitting down breathing meditation. Okay, so that's step 3. And you do these in order. The Buddha suggests you start with step 1, and only if that doesn't work, you go to step 2, and only if that doesn't work, go to step 3. And then step 4 is stepping it down. So you got a desire to eat that whole cake? Well, maybe you could just say 1 or 2 slices. Or you want to punch somebody out? Well, maybe you can run around the block 10 times instead. So letting yourself do something or indulge in the hindrance a bit, but just at a step down degree. And then the final way to stop thinking is this, like, bearing down, pushing your teeth together, pushing your lips together, pushing your tongue up on the roof of your mouth. This is, a very intense thing. It's not healthy. So it's number 5. It's not what you want to be doing regularly. And I think the best use for this is if you're in a situation where you have this huge impulse to blurt out something that's going to really screw up your life. It's going to destroy the relationship in front of you, or cause you your job loss, or do something, then clamp down and get the heck out of there as fast as you can. Get out of that energy field so you can use some of these other techniques to get yourself calmed down. You never want to make decisions when you're all having a hindrance attack. You want to get calmed down, and then when you're calm, you can have some clarity and think, okay, what's the best thing to do? A lot of this is covered in Thich Nhat Hanh's Peace Treaty, and it's in lesson 3. If you go on our website under teachings, the basic lessons, go to lesson 3, and then after that sort of introductory paragraph, there's a thing that says download the entire PDF of the lesson. That's where the Peace Treaty is located. Okay, so that's our first 2 efforts: preventing the arising of the hindrances, and then, when they happen to arise, how do we let them go? So now we're on the 3rd effort, which is putting in the causes to allow the factors of awakening to arise. Now, the first factor of awakening is mindfulness. So just sitting down and being aware of our breath, being mindful of our breath, we're already putting into effect the first factor of awakening. The second factor of awakening is investigation. We're investigating when things arise. Are they a hindrance, or are they a factor of awakening? Am I going to do the first 2 efforts, or am I going to do the second 2 the last 2 efforts? So those are the first 2 aspects of the factors of awakening. So they're the ones where you're putting in effort. You're pedaling your bicycle uphill. All of the other factors of awakening are coasting downhill. Now you don't have to make effort anymore. You've put in the effort for the mindfulness and the investigation, and now you're coasting, and the others just naturally evolve. The 3rd one is piti, and I'll look here and make sure I don't get them wrong here. Energy. So when we make effort to be aware, to investigate, once you overcome inertia, that gives you energy. So the next factor of awakening is energy, and that just sort of naturally arises. Then piti, which is joy. That's the Pali word for joy. Joy arises. And so that's sort of a more energetic kind of joy, and then that settles down into this really beautiful, tranquil state. which is even nicer. And then we move into that stillness, the samadhi or the jhana. And finally, equanimity. Equanimity, there's 4 jhanas, 4 different levels, and equanimity is at its peak at the 4th jhana. But I mean, it's also can be available just when we're out of jhanas, but its maximum state is in the 4th jhana. Okay, so that's arousing the factors of awakening with our mindfulness of breath. And now the 4th effort, the 4th right effort, is now when these factors are starting to flow, how do we maintain them or actually cause them to increase? And it's just keeping your meditation object in mind, just staying with. Keep going, staying with that mindfulness of breathing. Just staying the course. Okay, so that's the 4 factors of 4 right efforts. Now, of course, right effort is also applied in the other steps of the Noble Eightfold Path. We've talked a lot about how all of the components of the path are sort of feedback loops to each other, supporting, they're all there together, supporting one another. But there's 3 that seem to really be present in each step of the path, and that's right effort, mindfulness, and right view. Remember that first thing. If we don't have right view, then there's sort of no reason for us to step onto the path in the first place. We have to have sort of an idea of, oh, this is a good thing to do. So that's why we always need right view. So the Buddha talks about these 3 components of the path circling around each other in Majjhima Nikaya number 117, and I'll read you his words. One makes an effort to give up wrong view and embrace right view. That's their right effort. Mindfully, they give up wrong view and take up right view. That's their right mindfulness. So these 3 things keep running and circling around right view, namely right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. And then he repeats this for the next several components, for the next 4 components of the path. He said, one makes an effort to give up wrong thought and embrace right thought, or to give up wrong speech and embrace right speech, or to give up wrong action and embrace right action, and to give up wrong livelihood and embrace right livelihood. That's their right effort. And then mindfully, they give up wrong thought and take up right thought. Mindfully, they give up wrong speech and take up right speech. Mindfully, they give up wrong action and take up right action. Mindfully, they give up wrong livelihood and take up right livelihood. And that's their right mindfulness. So these 3 things keep running and circling around each of those components, namely right view, right mindfulness, and right effort. Now it's interesting in this teaching of the Buddha, he didn't mention mindfulness. I think we also put in right effort for mindfulness to occur. So it's only the last component, samadhi, like everything else is pedaling uphill, but the samadhi, the stillness, that's just an outcome of all the others. So that's the coasting downhill. Okay. That's, I think, all I have to say about the 4 right efforts. So just give me a moment here.